wouldn't understand.
Look, I've been watching that club operate for over a year now. It's not for you, Joyce. I mean it.
Mike, I can't just quit now.
Yes, you can. It's easy. Just say, I quit and walk out.
But for someone like you, it's easy.
What do you mean, someone like me?
I don't know, but... Well, you just seem so secure and...
Secure? Well, what's secure about me? Look, I live in a furnished room and hope from day to day the coffee shop stays open. We have a home and parents.
I didn't mean that kind of security, Mike, and... Besides, for all the attention I get at home, I may just as well be renting a furnished room there myself.
Oh, I've heard that complaint before.
It's the truth, Mike. That's why I joined. If we had the right kind of homes, we wouldn't have to go out and look for another one. If our parents showed some real interest in us instead of just... I'm sorry, Mike. Let's not even talk about it. It's so nice and peaceful here.
You see why I want you to keep out of trouble?
No. Why?
Because I don't want my girl messing around with those creeps.
Am I your girl?
What do you think?
Hi, welcome to the Laguna Wood Show, where every guest matters. Today we have a very special guest. He's a very famous movie star, and he's also a published author. And his name is Brad Halsey. Hi, Brad.
Hello.
Well, last week I saw, well, thank you for coming. It's nice having you here. Last week I saw one of your movies on TSM, and it was called High School
Hellcats.
Hellcats.
Yeah.
Was this one of your first movies?
It was the first movie in which I had star billing. It wasn't my first movie. I'd made it at that time probably 13, close to 20 movies, but with smaller parts, you know, little. I started out, I was the oldest son in one of the Mon Pa Kettle movies, and by then I'd been in To Hell and Back, the Audie Murphy story, and I Want to Live. No, that was later. Some pretty well-known movies. I can't remember all of the names now.
So how many movies altogether?
So far, up to today, 101.
Wow. Is it with the TV shows or just movies?
No, with TV shows. I've done about 400 TV shows.
Oh.
But that's counting soaps, because I worked in soaps for a couple of years, so it's easy to build up a number of soaps. I remember I went to talk to a producer once after I'd left one of the soaps, and they said, well, what have you been doing? I said, well, I was in General Hospital. Yeah, but what have you been doing? So the next time I went on an interview, I talked to the producer, and he said, what have you been doing? And I said, well, last year I did 100 television shows. Wow. It was just soap, you know. But the soap, they're good shows. It's good work.
101
movies.
I mean, no, 100 TV. Soaps in 1 year.
Well,
did you say?
No, is it? Well, maybe it wasn't 100. Maybe it was 50. I don't know. But
wow, that's a lot.
Because you can do. I used to do 3 a week.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, it could be.
50 weeks. That's 150 shows.
Wow. Busy.
Spend your whole life just learning lines. Get in a taxi, get in a bus, get in any place in a restaurant, learning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you must have worked with a lot of interesting people.
Yeah.
I know that you had a commercial with John Wayne.
Yeah, that was funny. That was very early in my career. Back in those days, only models did commercials. Actors didn't do commercials. So my agent called me and they said, we have this commercial, this Gillette commercial. It's going to show in the World Series. I said, I don't do commercials. I'm not a model. I'm an actor. And he said, well, John Wayne's in the commercial. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Wake up.
Wake up with Old Spice and feel the freshness of the open sea. Wake up with Old Spice. Feel the spray on your face and the wind at your back. Come on, wake up to the freshness of the open sea with Old Spice and get a super smooth shave with Old Spice shave cream.
If he's doing it, I can do it too.
Yeah. So
was it a nice experience?
Well, yeah. The work is rather fast, but he's a very nice man. We became friendly in later years. Yeah.
Yeah, I read somewhere that you were friends with Tony Curtis.
Oh yeah, we were very good friends. Yeah. How was he? Oh, Tony was a great guy and had a great sense of humor. I remember one of our first encounters. We were both under contract at Universal. He was a star then, and I was just starting out, but we were friends. And I stopped him one day, and I had to make a phone call, and I needed a dime for the phone back in those days when they had the pay phones. And I said, Tony, I don't need change. Do you have a dime? I have to make a phone call. He said, yeah, and he reached in his pocket, he handed me a dime. The next day I saw him, I said, hey, here's your dime. And he says, oh my God, what have you done? I said, what? And he says, now you've established credit. Oh, he had a great sense of humor.
Yeah, so, wow. You know what, I saw in the movie that towards the end of the movie, you were fighting with two guys. So did you do your own stunts?
Yeah. Well, not always, but in those B pictures often, unless they were really involved, I would do my own stunts. Yeah, I don't remember exactly in that film, but I'm pretty sure I did my own fighting
with two guys.
Oh, I've done a lot of that, yeah. When I went to acting school, learning to fight and to fall and to do stunts was part of the curriculum. So that's one of the reasons, especially when I was in Italy doing all the action films, westerns, and sword fighting and all those, I would do my own stunts because I had better training than most of the stuntmen, except with the swords. I did a series of like Scaramouche films, and in Italy and France and Spain. And the Italian swordsmen were the best. They were just fantastic. So I was so happy when I had a double.
You didn't have to do it.
I didn't. Well, I would have to do half of it when they were on me. But
yes.
No, that was a good experience working with the Italian swordsmen. The horsemen were a different story. I was raised on a ranch, and I was a pretty good horseman before I ever became an actor. I was a pretty good cowboy. I can remember when I was a kid, my father would bring range horses in, and we would break them and sell them as saddled pleasure horses. And I can remember my father saying, Red, get up on him and see if he's broke. And sometimes he was, and sometimes he wasn't.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you have to break him in. Oh my God.
And my world record was one horse in one afternoon threw me 16 times.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, 16 times. So doing your stunts in the movies, did you ever get hurt?
Yeah. Not seriously, but yes, I would get hurt. But I was careful about not getting hurt. I can remember, well, one instance, it was kind of a dangerous stunt, and this was in Yugoslavia. And my character, I was escaping the bad guys, and I had to run in front of a train. And the train came by, and I jumped in front of the train, and the train blocked them from following me. Well, the stuntman was just a little guy, and I said, he can't do it. So I said, hell with it, I'll do it myself. Well, it was really stupid of me to do it myself, because if I'd tripped or anything, you know, on those rocks, the train would have run right over me. There's no way to stop the train.
Wow.
And then, as soon as it was finished, I thought, that was really dumb. I shouldn't have done that. But then when I saw it in the dailies when they ran the film, it was such a long shot, it could have been you. It didn't matter that I did. Which made me doubly
Yeah.
angry. Then there was another time I was doing this sword fighting film, and they'd set up a stunt where we were in this dungeon, and like I was in the corner, and from here and from here and from here on wires were cauldrons of boiling oil coming to get me, and I was supposed to dodge them and get out of the way. So before we shot it, I stood in the corner and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I said to the director, I said, nope, I want to see a rehearsal. And he said, it'll cost half a day to set the thing up again. I said, I don't care, I'm not going to do it if I don't get a rehearsal. Because I couldn't see any way I could escape this. And I was right. If I'd done it, I'd have been burned to death.
Oh my God.
So they had to reset it. So it could be dangerous.
You had to survive all this.
Yeah.
So in 1961, you won the Golden Globe Award.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I never held it before.
Well, there aren't that many of them around.
How did it feel to get the Golden Globe Award?
It was quite an honor. It's funny, I thought about how does it feel. It was, of course, I knew I was going to win before it was announced. And so it was, and then I had to get up and give a little talk. But,
I know you were talking in front of millions of people, huh?
well, that's on television. The talk I'm thinking of the people
Oh, yes,
in the audience.
yes.
But it was a good experience, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
It's funny, I get, as I told you before, I get these collectors, I get calls from them. You want to sell it? Do you want to sell it? I said, no, I don't want to sell it. Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Selling the Golden Globe?
No.
I wonder how much they would pay for it. I mean, a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
More than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Yeah.
That's funny. So, what was the longest hours you ever worked on a set?
I thought about that. We worked pretty long hours in Europe because we didn't have the union protection.
Yeah.
But in most of my contracts, in fact, almost all of my contracts, I would insert a clause that I would only work, that I always had to have at least 12 hours between calls. That doesn't sound like much, but...
No, that's, yeah.
And they would always balk at that, and I'd say, either I get the rest or I don't do it. So I would have my normal rest, albeit short. But I think the longest hours generally were films that I did here before I went to Europe, the B films, the B action films, and the Westerns. I can remember I worked in one series, I was a regular on a series called Brave Eagle. I was, I don't know, Little Feather or something. I was young at the time. But we always liked to work on Brave Eagle. Well, see, those action Western shows would always shoot in the summer because you have longer days. Sun comes up, sun goes down. You're outside most of the time. But people like to work on this particular show because by 6 o'clock, both the director and the cameraman were so drunk they couldn't shoot anymore. So we'd go home early.
It's funny.
But it was here. I can remember one show, picture I did called The Girl in Lover's Lane. I don't know how many hours we'd worked, but it was late and I just couldn't get it. I remember the director said, come on, put his arm around my shoulders, said, let's go. And we went for a walk outside, around the stage, came back. And just the fresh air brought me back and it was fine, I could do it. But we did work long hours.
I know, sometimes it could be 16 hours a day, sometimes.
Well, back in the early days, they would work day, and I can remember Gary Cooper. I was at his house and with a couple friends, and we were complaining about the hours. And Cooper said, "You guys are a bunch of pansies." He said, "When I was your age, I'd do one picture in the daytime and another one at night."
That's funny.
Yeah.
But it was the same movie, I guess, no?
Oh, no, you do.
Two different ones?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God, he worked so...
Finally, he said that they were working him so hard, and he was so tired, that he just got in a plane and left. They said, come back, we'll sue you. He said, yeah, go ahead and sue. And I think he went to Africa, and he was gone for about a month.
He needed a rest, huh?
Yeah, he was a funny guy. It was so strange. The first time I met him, his daughter was a friend of mine. I was invited to a black tie dinner party at his house, tuxedo, and I was kind of excited to meet Gary Cooper the first time. And I go up to the front door, and he comes and opens the door, and he has his tux shirt and pants on, but no shoes, and he has his cuffs rolled up, and he says, "There's goddamn shower in the guest bathroom." He said, "I can't fix this toilet and this," and he's complaining. He's doing plumbing work, and that's the way I met Gary Cooper, doing plumbing in his house.
He did his own.
Yeah,
That's funny. So you had a famous uncle, huh?
Admiral Halsey. Yeah.
He was a hero.
He was a big hero. He was a chance taker.
Yes.
His exploits in the Pacific, when he stopped the Japanese fleet, on one hand, and he was a big hero for that, and on the other hand, he made a move that didn't work out. But his men loved him. I can remember that I read. I don't know. I wasn't there, of course, but. He had an aircraft carrier group, Third Fleet, and at night, the planes would go out, but at night, if they came back after dark, they would have to go in the drink because they couldn't turn the lights on. They were afraid of the submarines. But his group came back and it was dark, and he said, to hell with it, turn the lights on. He turned all the lights on. Now, he was a big hero for that. Had there been any submarines, he wouldn't have been. But he got his men back. Yeah.
How many men? I mean.
Well, a whole, I don't know how many, but all his planes.
Oh, wow.
On the carrier.
Wow.
Yeah, there must have been 20, 30 planes.
Oh, wow. That's really something. Was he from your mother's side or your father's side? Father's side.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, my mother's side is an interesting family story because on my mother's side, California was settled. Originally, my original ancestor, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, came with Junipero Serra to found the missions, and he was the first elected alcalde of Los Angeles. Alcalde is a mayor, back in 1768.
Wow.
So there's quite a family. One of my novels is based on that.
Oh, yeah.
On that history.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about your books. When did you start writing?
I started writing in Italy. I would get these scripts sent to me, and they were very bad translations into English from Italian. And so I would have to rewrite them to make them fit. The best example of why is when Italians are very verbose, they use a lot of words. And if an Italian says, "I love you," then he'll give you 10 reasons why. An American says, "I love you," well, that's it. Now let's go get a hamburger. So I had to adjust all that stuff. And then as I was living this historical event, I call it, I call the American La Dolce Vita, the Americans in Europe making films during the 60s. As I was living it, I knew I was in an epoch of history. And often someone would do something and I'd say, "Hey, that's going in the book, that's going in the book." Well, every actor you've ever heard of is going to write a book someday, and I was that way. And I was talking to a writer friend of mine when I got back to Hollywood, and he said, "That's a pretty good story. I think you have a book there." And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "I'd like to introduce you to the head of Bantam on the West Coast." So I said, "Great." So I met him. His name was Charles Bloch. And he said, "Yeah, that's a pretty good story. Can you write?" And I said, "Sure." He said, well, write an outline for me. So I did. And then he said, yeah, that's all right. So the president of BANM was coming to town like the next week, so they arranged a meeting with the president of BANM at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And I met him, and he said, yeah, I like this, but you know, all you actors, you all think you can write. You're all full of crap. He said, write me some chapters, write 3 chapters. So I did, and then they bought it. They gave me a very nice advance. And when I read the contract, that's when I decided for sure I was going to be an author, because in the contract it said I had to deliver the book within a year, and if I didn't, I had to give the advance back. Well, I wasn't going to give the advance back, so then I was a writer.
So how long did it take you to write the first book?
About a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Just on time?
It takes me about a year to write books. I have 4 of them.
Yes, I can see it.
This is the one about California. This is a noir mystery. I like it. It's one of my latest. This is the one about Hollywood on the Tiber. It's called The Magnificent Strangers. And this one is Yesterday's Children. It's about, I call it a novel written in soap opera form about people making a soap opera.
So you had iguanas? I mean, how big was the biggest iguana that you ever held? I mean, they're big, huh?
Not that big. Iguanas are very nice. This project that I was involved in, unfortunately, the project fell apart not because of anything wrong with the project, but because one of the principals stole all the money. But for food, iguanas are a great source of protein, of food. The meat tastes like chicken. They're much easier and cheaper to raise than cattle. There's a formula, I don't know the formula exactly, but for a cow you need, say, 100 square feet of clear space. For iguanas, you plant trees in that space, so you revive the forest, the jungle, because iguanas live in the trees and they eat fruit. So it's much cheaper and better for the environment to raise iguanas. Well, people look at them and they say, "Ooh, they're ugly. How can I eat that?" But then look at a chicken. Look at a fish. They're not very pretty.
How many iguanas have you had at one time?
Well, to eat or what?
I don't know.
Well, you see this picture. That's a pretty big iguana there.
Yes, yes.
But you can't hold more than one at a time when they're that size.
They're big. So how much do they weigh?
Oh, I suppose.
This one, how much did this one weigh?
Oh, 10, 15 pounds anyway. I don't know.
Are they dangerous? I mean,
No.
Can they bite or anything?
I never heard of them biting anyone. They have claws, so you have to be,
Yeah.
they can, but they don't attack you. It's just if you hold them or something, you have to be careful because if they hold you back, they dig in you.
Yes, yes. So you had to know how to hold them, huh?
Yeah, but they're very nice. They're very gentle. They're very slow. They live in the trees. They're nice and a great source of food if we ever get to it.
Did you ever have an iguana?
Yeah, in tacos down there. Well, there's nothing wrong with iguana meat. It's good meat.
So, how many languages do you speak? You went to Europe, you went to Costa Rica. I mean, how many languages do you speak?
I'm not very good with languages. My Italian, when I'm in Italy, is pretty good. My Spanish is pretty good. I lived in Costa Rica for 6-7 years. Mainly Spanish and Italian. My German was so-so. I spent a lot of time in Germany, working in Germany, making films. But I haven't been speaking other languages recently, and my Spanish and Italian gets mixed up. If I'm here, if I speak either one of the languages, I confuse them. But if I'm with Spanish-speaking people for a day or so, then I'm okay, and the same with Italian. I can still read, and
Really? You can read?
I can read better than I can speak, yeah.
Really? Wow. All the languages?
Yeah.
German and Italian?
German's harder to read, but the Spanish and Italian, yeah. I can make sense of the German if I know what I'm reading about. Yeah.
You put them together. That's funny. So, let's see. Yeah. Any funny story that happened to you on a set that you can remember?
One was kind of funny. How I met my German wife. Heidi Bruhl was her name. She was a big German film and singing star.
Right.
And I was in Berlin making a film with Senta Berger. And we were shooting at night in Woolworths in Berlin. They have a Woolworths in Berlin.
Yeah.
And a friend of Heidi's was working in the film. So Heidi was doing, at the time, she was doing Annie, Get Your Gun on stage. And so when she finished work, she came to to watch us shoot. And next thing I know, we got married.
So that's funny.
Yeah, she used to say that she found her husband at Woolworths.
So, so where can people find your books when they want to buy it?
Okay. If people want an autographed copy, then they should write to my website, because then that comes to me directly and I can send an autographed copy. My website is bretthalsey.net. You got that? Other than that, Amazon.
Do you go to book signing?
Yeah.
Events?
Yeah, I'm going on the 9th of June. I'm going to Memphis, Tennessee for book signings and autographs. Yeah, I travel around doing that kind of stuff.
Wow. Well, it was so nice having you here.
Oh, it's over already?
So nice having you here. Yeah, it's already over.
We gotta get it's over?
Well, next week we'll have another interesting person. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye.